Welcome to Energy Stew. This is Peter Roth, your host. And how true are you to you? We can't be true to others unless we're true to ourselves. And to help us find our true way of living in a better life is the author of many books. And she's been on many of shows with me. And it's Barbara Berger, and she's right here. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Peter. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And your books, I'm going to just mention them briefly, and maybe, for people who might see the video, Find and Follow Your Inner Compass, The Awakening Human Being, and Are You Happy Now? And you embody so much. It's so wonderful to talk with you. And you don't live in this country, and it's interesting that in Copenhagen there's so many people who find you through your books and seek out your help.
Definitely. For our viewers or listeners, if you want to know more about me and what I do, go to my website, which is beamteam.com. beamteam.com. Because we're here to beam you up, right?
Or beam us within.
That's true. It's pretty much the same, right?
Right. So what I'd like to really focus on is being true to ourselves, knowing how to think truly for ourselves, or feel truly for ourselves, and then act truly through that inner truth that we have, and then deal with the outside world accordingly.
That's the challenge, the combination of just what you said. First of all, being in alignment with who we truly are, but then how do we navigate wisely and constructively in the world and maintain our alignment to who we truly are? In other words, our integrity. That's, I think you're spot on. That seems to me to be the major challenge for most of us.
Right. And we learn from feedback in the outer world too.
Absolutely.
And how the outer world responds to us, it helps us shape ourselves. And not always in an easy way.
Yes, that's true. It's a learning loop, you would say. We're all on an evolutionary journey.
Right.
And so all of our experiences they help us understand and grow. So it's always mirroring back to us.
I was thinking today how little I knew of myself when I was young, and did my best to bump around and thinking I was going to satisfy myself in the image of, for instance, the themes of my family and what they would expect of me. And I grew up in an art family, so I thought I was supposed to be an artist. And pursued that for a long time, and then a businessman, pursuing that. I had a manufacturing company, and I was pretty successful at a lot of that, but it wasn't who I truly was. And you could say, well, I wasted my time. I don't think any of it is a waste. I think
not really like that. But actually, my new book, Find and Follow Your Inner Compass, it deals a lot with what you're talking about now, that we are so programmed or influenced by outer circumstances and other people that we often lose contact with what I call the inner compass, our inner alignment, our own. We each have our own direct personal contact, you could say, to the great universal intelligence that created all of us.
But let's say that we're not following our inner compass.
But first of all, let's just talk about what I mean by that before what happens when we don't do it. But it's more this thing that how do we know? What is the indicator? What is the signal? And as I write in my new book, the signal that we get from the great universal intelligence is actually guiding us by means of our emotions. So you could say we have, as I categorize in the book, we have two kinds of emotions, the ones that feel good and the ones that don't feel good. And so the more we feel a sense of ease, flow, joy, fulfillment, enthusiasm, passion, all the good feeling emotions, they are really signals from within that we are in alignment with who we truly are. And then when we have the feelings of discomfort, when we feel frustration, overwhelmed, grief, anger, fear, anxiety, all these so-called negative emotions, they're really signals from within that we're off course. But most of us, we all know we have feelings, but we don't really understand the true significance of what this is an indication of.
Sometimes we have to give it time to gel. And, for instance, when I was making choices when I was young, I was very happy about the choices I was making because I thought they were correct for me. But when I went to fulfill them, I was unhappy.
Okay. So as it evolved for you, it changed. That's what you're saying.
Right. So I learned from making choices that outwardly seemed correct, inwardly didn't work.
Well, if you say when you put it like that, when you say outwardly seemed correct, is that because it was your mother or your father or society? When you say outwardly,
I wanted to fulfill their dreams for
okay, well, there you have it already. Then in other words, it wasn't self-referral, it was what I call other referral.
And I thought my identity was within that. I thought, I needed to become that. And I was very happy pursuing it until I was in it. And then I found that it wasn't working because that's not
who I was. Universal intelligence tapped you on the head and said, Peter, no.
Right. And so a lot of people can identify with that.
Well, I would say it's also the social pressure. I mean, the family pressure, the social pressure, the way we're programmed. I mean, in other words, the way we're programmed from birth is pretty much to please others.
Right. And I think the first maybe 15 years of my adult life, I was very unhappy because I was living a lie about who I was, but I didn't know how else to live at that point. There was no feedback mechanism, and I could identify with making other choices than I was making.
That's really interesting. I wouldn't say that I would agree that there was no feedback mechanism, but I would say probably that your awareness of it was not great enough.
Right. I was told
because I mean the feedback mechanism is there all the time. That's also why I say that I think that I spend my days talking to people. I'm a coach, so I talk to people every single day, lots of people, and it's not that people don't have strong emotions. We all do, but it's more we don't understand the significance of them. It's so
what are they telling? What are those emotions telling us?
Well, that's the thing when I say that there's the significance of our emotions. We haven't really been taught that it's an internal guidance system,
right?
That's telling us whether we're in alignment with our higher selves or the great universal intelligence source, whatever you want to call God, the God force that created us. In other words, there's this infinite intelligence that created all of this, and that's absolutely running this show, and you're a unique manifestation of that, and I'm a unique manifestation of that. We're all different, so this that when we're in alignment with who we truly are, it doesn't mean that we're in alignment with our next door neighbor or our partner, or because we're all different. So that's the challenge of this.
Right, but decades ago, we didn't have all of the awareness that we've woken up to now. and the world is waking up in many ways.
Isn't that cool?
Well,
So
No, it is, except it's also showing us what doesn't work.
that's so true. I call it the sickening and the quickening, right?
Right. We're kind of in the sickening now, along with the quickening. So, so it's really about um, sensing. It's that feeling, getting feedback cues. What are the cues that you're receiving that you might not be open to, but maybe you can listen a little harder to?
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about, what I'm talking about is cues from within.
Well, yes, but
Yeah.
cues from within that often get triggered from without.
Well, that's true too. Very good. Very good. Well
Right.
put. Yeah.
So that's the point, is that,
But
feeling
it's
my way through and saying, am I really into this?
But also, I think it's important. You said it in the beginning too, and I think it's really important. Is that it's not there's no permanent answer, no permanent solution. That it's a constant adjustment. It's a constant. Where am I in relation to being in alignment with who I truly am in today in this situation? It keeps evolving as we evolve, as the world, as you say, as everything is changing. There are so many moving parts all the time. So
Right.
it's a fluid, constantly changing universe of which we are a part. And so when we're in the flow of that, we feel actually quite good. But it's when we have these rigid solutions also that don't work,
And we can also be in very disappointing situations that might be correct for us because they help guide us. Those are the outward guiding, consequences.
Okay, that's what you mean. In
Yeah.
other words, when we get off course, we also get feedback
Right.
from the outer world.
Or even, I really am interested in our shadows and how our shadows work in life. And they represent our genius, but in a way that we're confronted by limitations around it. We're challenged by life.
Yeah.
We're challenged by life to make ourselves better. And so a lot of these shadows are there to push us forward. And it depends on our self-love, how we deal with our shadows.
I mean, I usually say that it's not like we have to learn anything new. We basically have to unlearn everything we've been taught. That's what you actually mean by the shadow, the limitation. If you would say that the divinity that we seek, we are the divinity that we seek. But why aren't we experiencing our own divinity? Well, that is the shadow, you could say. What is it that's blocking? What is the dweller on the threshold? What is it's the flawed premises, the faulty premises that prevent us from experiencing who we truly are. I mean,
I also think that there are honorable challenges to who we truly are.
Okay, give me an example of that.
That help us shine our pearl a little bit more.
Okay, well, give me an example of that, Peter. I really like that one.
Well, I've been an intuitive most of my life, and I'm kind of an out-of-the-box guy.
I noticed that.
Right. And there are people who don't appreciate that. I'm not traditional, and there's so many ways that I break.
But I mean, why is that your problem?
No, because people can get in the way, be nasty, create roadblocks, and have in ways that I don't understand. It's like, wait a second, I'm following my dream here. Why are people putting up roadblocks? And what I see is that it's my shadow at work to keep me on a path that needs me to be truer and truer and truer to myself.
Okay.
And I must say that these obstacles have been very strong in my life.
Okay.
and I don't see myself as having attracted them other than being true to myself, who I am. And that's part of what you write about, is that we're going to create a lot of irritation around us of people who don't agree with us.
Well, as you know, part 2 of this book, the new book, Find and Follow Your Inner Compass, it is how to deal with the challenge of fear of disapproval of other people.
Or not even fear, but people acting out in ways that are very uncomfortable and
But again, it's a question about, I mean, the whole challenge of constructive communication, how to navigate wisely when our choices are not pleasing to other people, as you say.
Right. And so it comes back to self-love. It comes back to, if you can hold your wholeness, you can deal with it, with the challenges, with the disagreements of others, because you believe in yourself enough.
But I think even before that, I mean, in terms of what I'm writing about is more about how to communicate. How do we communicate respectfully with our fellow human beings when we recognize the fact that we're all different?
Right, and they have their challenges too.
Exactly,
So
but in other words, isn't that the challenge of our democracy? I mean, democracy is a system based on the belief that we are all unique creations of the Creator, that all men are created equal with certain unalienable rights, the right to life, live. That's the Declaration of Independence. Right. It's based on the belief and the understanding that each one of us has a right to be here.
But the more we can believe in ourselves for that, about that, the easier it is to parry life's consequences.
That's for sure. But again, to go back to the challenge of living that in practicality. In other words, if we understand that we're all different, and we understand that we have different beliefs, different desires, different talents, different projects, we're at different stages of our evolution, and that we probably disagree about a lot of things and have different desires. So then the question is, how do we navigate respectfully? In other words, allowing each one as much space and freedom to nourish and blossom what their truth is.
Again, it comes back to the more that we can honor ourselves, the more we're ready to honor others.
Sure, I would definitely agree with that. Self-love and other love.
Right. And so, and seeing the big picture, your books are so helpful to understand how the perspective to see what we're challenged with about ourselves and each other, and then to communicate properly within those challenges.
Right.
How do I give people room to be disagreeable?
That was, if I could somehow communicate, that's one of my goals with a lot of these things I'm writing. In other words, to be able to be in alignment with who you are, but to be able to be in the world like that, as you say, that's really a challenge for most of us.
Yeah, I see it. I counsel people. You coach, I counsel. And
counsel is a good word. I could use that one too. I counsel people. I like that.
Right. Well, I love it. I love to help people know themselves better. I love to help people find the gold within themselves.
It's so wonderful. It's my greatest joy too. I love it.
Right.
I mean, it's like, isn't it cool that we get to be a part of another person's evolution and development? I mean, what an honor, what a privilege. So I absolutely adore what I do.
Yeah, and and I work intuitively. I had a class just the other night on what does your soul expect from you?
Okay, cool. What a great title.
Yeah. And part of it was me just asking my guides intuitively to address each person in the class as to what their soul was expecting from them. And it got to the heart of the matter with each student. And they would say, oh, yes, that's what I want. That's who I am. Oh, I'm glad my soul wants that for me.
That's the heartfelt energy. It's when it's heartfelt, right?
Right. And it's amazing how that works. And another part of the class was using the human design system, which works with your birth data, but it understands the mechanics of your personality, how you're here to be. And then you apply yourself to how you're here to be. And we're all here to be very different from each other.
That's the thing.
Right.
When you look, you notice that that's the setup.
Yeah. And many times I'll do chart readings for people. They'll be so glad to hear that that's how they're supposed to be, so they don't think they're a big mistake.
That you actually allow or help or enable people to allow themselves to be who they are.
Right. Yeah, I want them to be magnificently who they are.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I love to work with parents about their children, so they can raise their children to be who they are here to become. And these charts they're always 100% accurate. I mean, I know it's a big statement, but I've done thousands of chart readings, and everybody always, oh my God, it's so on target. It's amazing. But to hear what I say, it creates a language about you that you haven't heard before. And so to have that language about yourself allows you to speak the language of yourself better.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah. And so that's so much about what you're talking about is communication, to be honest with ourselves. How do we speak to ourselves about ourselves? And who do we tell ourselves we are?
Well, one of the techniques I use a lot in my sessions with people is, I call it truth telling. In other words, to allow yourself, first of all, to actually feel what you really feel about things. I always say to people, when we're going to do truth telling, you're going to tell me your truth about whatever the situation or subject is. And you're not going to have to worry about the consequences. You don't have to tell this to anybody else. It's not, what you're going to say to your husband or your boyfriend or your best friend, but just for you. I mean, it's so radical to actually, as you say, to actually get in touch with how you really feel. It's so liberating.
But it also says a lot about you, that you create the trust in them to tell you the truth like that.
It's true. But also that I find that in the beginning that people are so afraid of actually doing this because they're afraid of the consequences. If I really get in touch with how I really feel, or if I really get in touch with what I think about the situation, then I have to act immediately on this information. And that's very anxiety provoking. But I always say, well, let's just not go there yet. Let's just start by being mindful and being present and trying to just be honest about who we are and how we actually, it's just so mind-boggling.
It's setting the stage that allows us then to grow along the right path. And I think that's organic. Everybody, because it's not about, all right, let's mentally now figure it all out.
No, I totally agree. It's who we are. You're absolutely right.
And let the organic nature of who we are find its own way. And it takes a lot of surrender and trust in the universe.
Courage.
Serendipity and synchronization.
But I mean, again, when you think about it, especially, I have noticed the younger the people are who come to me, the more difficult it is. Because, again, I think that the way the world has changed with social media and Facebook and all this stuff, that people are, especially the young ones, they're so plugged into everybody else's truth, what everybody else is thinking, saying, doing, that it's really getting more and more difficult, it seems to me, for people to actually honor this truth here. So,
right, we're in a time where truth is being challenged.
I noticed. We have noticed.
All of a reason to have to go within to find the deeper truths of our souls, rather than the outer truths of, the political world, economics, or
You know, just what our friends and family, what we believe that they think that we need to do, just that one.
Yeah. So it is a time where we're bombarded with all kinds of input that
All the time.
yeah. So it's good, but it's so important just to have that space within yourself of allowing yourself to be okay anyway.
But that's really, really difficult.
Yes.
I mean, it's really, really, with what you just said there, it's like the most difficult of all for most of us.
Right.
To be present and to allow ourselves to be and feel and just to be who we truly are. But that's what I also mean by when I say that what is preventing us from experiencing the divinity, which is what we really are to begin with. It is that we lack this ability that you just said there, this to be present with ourselves. Because I mean, what's wrong with now?
There's nothing else. There's nothing wrong.
I mean, again, what's wrong with now? I mean, what's wrong with you now? What's wrong with me now? What's wrong with anybody now? Nothing. I mean, again, we're here now. It's like, it's so simple, and we're so that we don't get it, that we're so far from this truth.
But I think that whole idea of allowing life to be organic allows us to surrender to that. In other words, it's something that we can't control with our minds.
No, definitely not. That's true. In fact, we're not doing anything. If you think about that whole idea of control, like what?
We think we are. But we don't even know our own minds because we don't.
You and I, we're old enough now to know that we don't control anything.
Right. We can't even plan our thoughts. All we can do is allow them to think through us and trust that it's our true nature that's thinking through us. So we actually are reaching the end of the show. So Barbara Berger.
I just want to say one thing before we go, and that Amazon is doing this amazing offer on my new book. I don't know why they chosen me, but it's costs $1.95. It's been reduced for some reason. So if you'd like to have my new book.
Find and follow your inner compass.
Yes.
Barbara Berger at beamteam.com. Barbara, it's so great to talk with you.
Thank you for inviting me, Peter. Thank you.
And this is Peter Roth, your host of Energy Stew at prn.fm. I can be reached at peter@heartriver, HEART river.org, or 212-222-7748. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks so much for listening.